Welcome to our Managing Through Crisis summer series presented by Michigan State University's Broad College of Business. My name is Marcie Stowell. I'm the Assistant Director of Executive Development at MSU. Today, we're offering you insights into how to use social media to reinforce your brand values during crises. Dr. Nguyen will share examples of brands and their responses on social media in recent months, as well as give us several useful resources that can help guide you as you revisit your social media strategy. After her 30-minute presentation, I'll share your questions with her. So please use the Q&A feature in Zoom to submit your questions throughout the presentation. I will share as many questions as time allows with her. After we conclude today, we'll provide you a link to a recording of the webinar, which is part of a playlist on the public Broad College YouTube channel. So you can access these anytime into the future, all the webinars from this series. And now I would like to welcome Dr. Nguyen, Associate Professor of Marketing in the Broad College of Business. Dr. Nguyen researches brand and product innovation, social media engagement, and returns on marketing investments. She has won several awards and is widely published. One of her recent projects with students focused on a product featured on Shark Tank. And she works with us in executive development programs at the Broad College of Business as part of our customer experience management program. We have several ideas that we're working on together to bring you some new executive development program in her field of expertise. So Hannah, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Marcie. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar on Managing Through Crisis summer series. Like Marcie introduced, my name is Nguyen, but you can call me Hannah. My students always call me Hannah to feel that they are very close to me. I'm Associate Professor of Marketing at Eli Broad College of Business, and I have been teaching brand management, product innovation, and customer experience management at Eli Broad College of Business for 7 years. So today I'm very happy to discuss about the topic, how some brands successfully use social media during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I will share with you a lot of interesting examples from the best practice in different industries. As you all know, COVID-19 was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. As of today, the pandemic has infected almost 22 million people in 188 countries and territories, resulting in more than 773,000 deaths. COVID-19 also hit the US really hard, causing a terrible human toll and menacing the economy. Due to the pandemic, the market condition has been brutal for many industries over the last few months. Falling consumer demand, changing to online shopping behavior, reduced entertainment spending, and stay-at-home orders, mandating certain businesses stay closed, continue to take their toll on thousands of businesses that has been struggling for past several years, such as retailing and entertainment. Do you know, like big names such as luxury department store Neiman Marcus, J. Crew or JCPenney, and entertainment group like Cirque du Soleil and more has filed for bankruptcy. CEO of Neiman Marcus once said, like most businesses today, we are facing unprecedented disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has placed inexhaustible pressure on our business. The company experienced a loss of 31.2 million just in July. Likewise, Cirque du Soleil CEO said that we have no choice but to take a pause for a little while. In such a growing economy, consumer has become bored and more pessimistic than ever. According to the recent research, negative consumer emotions such as fatigued, angry, fearful, dominate positive emotions such as calm and optimistic. So you may experience the same situation in your industry, or at least the pandemic has hit your industry, making sales going down, profits going down, and also consumers are really skeptical about the economy and the business. So how did brands react to the pandemic to adjust to the new normal and curate marketing content on social media? That's the question that we are focusing today. We're going to look at how some brands have successfully engaged and supported consumers with the hope to turn their businesses around and to engage consumers and create customer loyalty. So some of you may experience the direct experience from the food delivery and restaurant industry. And one of the hardest hit industry during this crisis, restaurants around the world are suffering. Many restaurants are being forced to alter their service or end it altogether. This is obviously of importance to their customers and immensely important to communicate effectively. So social media is an inexpensive and effective way to do this. For example, you may have watched Taco Bell recently creative new commercial announcing that they are keeping drive-through service open with sticker seal bags during COVID-19. The user-generated video throughout the 15-second ad show the genuine appreciation of customers who are looking for safety in these troubling times. The ad say, "Let a drive-through help you get through." Likewise, many other brands were looking to directly engage customers during quarantine. Papaya was giving the first 1,000 customers who tweet a photo of their papaya fried chicken with the hashtag "that passport from Papaya" a free Netflix login for a month. Or Chipotle was beefing up its delivery capability and helping its customer combat its self-quarantine isolation by hosting live Zoom lunches. So, as you can see in this example, restaurants brands have been trying to stay connected with customers using social media such as user-generated videos, Instagram posts, live Zoom events to engage customers and cheer them up. In the media, sports, and entertainment industry, brands are increasingly offering free services for customers during the pandemic. Realizing that people might be looking for an escape from daily barrage of coronavirus news, reading subscription service, Grid, opened up access to its digital library of audiobooks free with no credit card or commitment required. Likewise, companies like Universal Music Group is using the healing power of music to respond to coronavirus. UMG has been supporting Music Care's COVID-19 Relief Fund and recruiting famous artists such as Elton John, Shania Twain to live stream their performance to the audience. So you can see these brands are using digital technology to create new entertainment experience for their beloved customers. Now let's talk about the fitness, health, and wellness industry. Since social distance is being increased in the US, fitness, health, and wellness brands are trying new and clever ways to move interactions that are typically in person to at-home experiences that still feel social. Diet and exercise apps, for example, such as MyFitnessPal, are getting in on the at-home fitness game by regularly sharing blogs featuring a wide variety of fast at-home workouts as well as healthy recipes to help reduce stress and anxiety while staying fit. Other brands like Peloton was act really quickly by adjusting their social media strategy. And you can see in this picture, they use Instagram to raise money for COVID relief. Peloton decided to offer their in-home workouts for free to build a relationship with the new customer who are not ready for a large investment. Another thing that Peloton did well was to be transparent about their effort to help COVID-19 through engaging social media posts that lay out exactly how they were taking action. And lastly, Peloton was very successful in listening to their customers who were all experiencing financial hardship by donating 1 million US dollars to cover membership fee for cheat and buy owners. Small things like this pay dividends for brand loyalty, especially when faced with new competition. I saw some people raise hand. Do you guys have any questions for me?
We are compiling a few and we'll share those with you here once you wrap up with your few slides.
Okay, awesome. Okay, now let's move to the consumer goods industry. So you can see that some consumer goods brand has also been active in responding to the crisis. For example, IKEA pursued a digital strategy that established the brand at more than just a suburban retail outlet. They update their content, include the DIY, do-it-yourself projects that enable all their customers to create fun new spaces within their home. They also enhance the at-home shopping experience by utilizing 3D rendering and AI technology to enable customers to see what different pieces of furniture would work like together. So you can imagine that if you are working at home with your kids, your dog, this is a really nice way to you to think how you can reorganize your furniture at home to make it a really nice environment to work with and make you feel happy and comfortable to do your work at home, right? And Nike is another successful brand in this category as well. So what Nike did is that what the brand does best. It is that the brand quickly react to social medias. So Nike quickly adapted their social strategy and matched it to what everyone calls the new normal. Nike developed slogan, play inside, play for the world, with the idea of inspiring people to stay home because it is for the betterment of everyone around the earth, around the world, around us. So they use this campaign to reduce the distance between athletes and customers by showing athletes playing in their backyard or living room like everyone else, which keep their customers engaged. Nike actually secret weapon is that the ability to utilize analytics from social media and social platform to derive key customer insights, which uses to identify customer preferences, the idea for product development. And Nike also provided platform for free to engage with new users and also went as far as creating a challenge called the Living Room Cup. It is safe to say that both IKEA and Nike have succeeded in adjusting their social media strategy to meet the new norm and set themselves up for the future success in a digital world. Finally, you know children are our future. Some brands have successfully created online playgrounds for kids during COVID-19. Disney, for example, is finding ways to move their beloved attraction online. In order for fans to still experience the magic, they launched the Disney Magic Moments, an interactive site. The hub features pictures and videos of the parks and rides, as well as activities and entertainment like story time with Disney Star, the new digital series at home with Olaf, drawing tutorials, pieces, coloring pages, sing along songs, and so on. They also provide timely cheats like Zoom background from Pixar movies and clips of park musicians performing in their own home. So those are really wonderful experience for our kids if they are staying with us at home, so they can still enjoy the attraction, the activity, the magic out there at home. So this is great for the customer, but that also great as a brand to do it for their customers as well. And do you know that you can also play partnership while social distancing? Hasbro bring home the fun. Actually, they have the website feature various activities and games that can be enjoyed while in quarantine, including partnership and other board game classes like Scrabble or Monopoly. So you can basically sit home, enjoy and play that game with your kids, even with your friends online. You can do it online as well. Lastly, also in this industry, one interesting example is Harry Potter. So Harry Potter is joining millennials and Generation Z in quarantine as well. So in partnership with the author and her website, Pottermore, Warner Bros. Had created the new Harry Potter at Home, an online space for families and fans. So you can basically go there, watch the movie and enjoy and play different activities on that space. So these are great ways that brands have done to entertain kids and help millennial parents during the difficult time. Surely they will make their customer happy and render their loyalty. So those are some examples about different brands that are using social medias and also using the digital technology to engage customer, talking to customer and helping to go over to get through the difficult time. And also researcher from another side also work on research. So I want to show you one research recently published that talk about how brands are leveraging emotion during the COVID-19 pandemic. So as you know, you already know that like psychologists like Daniel Kahneman and also some other psychology researcher already show that humans process information and make decisions based on emotion. The same is true regarding purchase decision. So this highlights the importance of appealing to people's emotion in ways that brand connect with the audience and how they market. So the researcher developed the brand intimacy model in the brooches that is based on this principle. The brand, so you can understand, you can think that brand intimacy is the emotion science that measure the bonds we form with the brands we use and love. So you can see that like prior COVID-19, many brands focus more on traditional and rational processes and communications. However, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the need of shared connections, the researchers are seeing emotions play a much greater role in the branding and advertising measure of companies. So in the Brand Intimacy 2020 research, they find that top intimate brands in the US continue to significantly outperform the top brand in the Fortune 500 and SP 500. Indicates that both revenues and profit over the past 10 years. So this further highlights the importance of emotion in brand building and how it directly related to the company bottom line. So from the example that I have just shared with you, you can see that firms can use different ways to communicate with their target audience during the COVID pandemic. They can use the social media to cheer up customers, to engage them in their conversation, making them feel good about the connection with the company and make their life a little bit happier. And also brands can create new entertainment experience. Like the case that you can offer the online digital resources for the consumer to do, or offer apps that consumer can use the app to not only keep up their daily activities, but also connect with other customers. And also they feel good about the connection with the brand as well. You can also encourage customer to have a virtual interactions by having them seeing other customers, having them watching their progress over time, especially during the workout activities or hours, that will make the consumer not feel lonely at home. So they can always feel that who create that wonderful moment for me, who create that wonderful interaction for me. That is the brand that I love. And as a brand, you can also increase or inspire innovative ideas or innovation, such as the case of IKEA or Nike. So by giving consumer different creative ideas and also engage them to really do it, that make consumer feel so good. And you know that co-creation is one of the top trends in today's new product development. Consumers feel so good if they can really touch their hand on the product that they are creating. And also they feel their ownership on that product. That really make them feel very happy. The same here. In the time that they are facing difficulties to connect with other customers, staying at home, if they have something to do, to be creative, they will feel so much grateful about what you are doing for them. And for the kids, of course, our children, they are very important to us. They are our future. You can also create online performance playground like some brands do. So try your best way to engage them, making them feel that even that they are staying at home, doing the virtual learning, but they still have their friend around. They still have some interesting thing for them to do, feeling that they still have a chance to go outside, experience a little bit more virtual environment, playing environment that they used to play before. And very important, as the research shows you, the findings shows you that if you touch on emotion more than just cognition, you will touch consumers' heart. You will invoke consumers' love for your brand. And with that, it makes consumers will stay with you longer, make them loyal to your brands. And of course, it will eventually turn into sales and profits. It makes you do much, much better. And so this is difficult time. In the difficult time, if the brand do something for consumers, they will stay with you forever. But in other time, when the time that consumer happy, you can still do it. But the impact, the impression in the difficult time is always more for consumers. So in the future, um, something that also keep in mind that it is important that the pandemic has brought a permanent change on to how brands use social media and digital platform to grow business and engage customers. So moving forward, brands need to prioritize their customers by listening on social media and delivering on their wants, and also they can lean on social data to develop consumer insights and use those insights to turn into marketing strategy, to engage consumers, to promote, to give consumers what they are looking for. And also empathy, having empathy with consumers, especially during the difficult time and after, is always, always important. If the brand don't change to the new normal, there's not the good chance that they can encourage consumer to turn them into your friends. And also you will lag behind if you not be on the same pace with consumers. So for the future, even if the pandemics go away, and if your company still want to go further and engage consumer, turn them into your loyal customer, prioritizing customer, listening to them, especially on social media, telling story about your brand, and using social influencers to really promote your brand, to engage with the customers, turning yourself into customer friends are always the successful strategy for you to go further, for you to become the beloved brands, and for you to render consumer loyalty. So that wrap up my presentations. I would like to share with you some useful resources that you can use to go further if you want to get some advices or some key information from different industries or different tools that you can use to turn your brand around. These are different resources. For example, you can go to the 4-step to a social media strategy during COVID-19. So in this resource, you can see the 4-step guidelines that you can just follow that to how to identify your target market, how you can twist your social media communication to that target market during the pandemic, and how you're going to design different content messages and also communication strategy that you can communicate with customers and how you can really implement it. So these are the 4 steps to a social media strategy. And then you can also use different social media communication tips and tools. So these will give you different tips that how you can twist different messages to approach consumer, what activities you can do to help consumers, and also different social media tools that are really important that you can use to really communicate with the customers. Then for the insights from different industry, you can go to Bain.com. Bain company is really good company in the market research industry that provide really good insight from different aspects of businesses and marketing. So they have the website, the web page actually highlighting the COVID-19 insight, and they broadcast different new insight, new findings from different industry, and also their professional advice for companies to do better in that difficult time. And also you can go into the KPMG to understand how you can address the business challenges during this difficult time. So these are different key resources that if you do Google search, you can also get a lot of other useful information, but these are the sources that I find very useful for us to go over, not only the insight from different situations, different difficulty that we are facing now, but also the social media strategy that we our brands forward. And so these are differences, different references that I use for my research. Thank you very much for your attention. So as Marcie mentioned here, on August 25th, we have the next webinar that you have a negotiation post-pandemic presented by Jennifer Dunn. And so the next one we will have the engaging remote employees presented by Angela Hall. So these are also very interesting topics that you may be interested in. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions from the audience.
Very good. You gave us much to think about and much to act on. I appreciate the resources you ended with so that we have some things to immediately go look at. I wanted to mention real quickly that the last few questions we have put in order do address small business and startups. So if you've been waiting for more in-depth information about that, we definitely have heard you and we'll move to that as well. So my first question for you is about personas. So you mentioned creating and using customer personas. That's when you envision the life of a customer, why they're purchasing a product or service, and from that information, how to position our product or service correctly. How do you recommend that we use these personas in conjunction with this new knowledge of shifting customer sentiment?
Thank you, Marcie. That's a great question. So you guys may have heard about the concept of customer personas. So customer persona refer to the group of consumers that you are targeting for your business, and it describe what are different characteristics of that group of consumers. For example, if you want to focus on, say, college students of that group, and you create the customer persona of that group with their demographic characteristic, psychographic characteristic, their behavior, the value in their life that they like the most. So the persona can be modified or changed because of the difficult time. So when you create the customer personas for your customers, of course, you have to identify different alternative group of customers your business can offer. And then you can identify the group of customers that are hurted most by the COVID-19. And so when you identify that group, you will see how you can, what will be the thing that you need to adjust in terms of, say, their emotion, because that is the one based on the research that were hurted most by the COVID-19. So as I show you in the graph, the bar, you can see that like consumer are more skeptical and their sentiment turns more negative. So keeping in mind that you can make that as an adjustment to how consumers feel and think during the COVID-19, then you can change the description of that group accordingly. So now consumer probably less rational compared to the previous time, and they are more emotional. So that is the way that you will adjust the description. And based on that information about more emotion-based feeling description, you can change your marketing strategy accordingly. What would be the better way that you can approach your consumers who are more emotional, who are more skeptical, who are angry or feel more fertile or bored about the situation, right? So as I show in different examples, you can see that you can find different ways to cheer them up, to bring them some shining moment of their day, creating some new experience for them, engage them to connect with other customers. So definitely you need to change to your persona during this difficult time, moving toward to understand more about your target market, your consumers, and find your way to be their friend, not only someone who from outside and judge them, but to be their friend, be their friend, understand what they are thinking, understand what they are facing, then try to create the new strategy, create the new way to approach them to make them happier. So that's my thinking about the changing with the persona and what you will do with your marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the Peloton campaign that happened early in the spring, mid-spring. And that created a lot of dialogue about, do we like this or do we not like this? One of our viewers, Robert, had fallen onto the side of not liking the Peloton commercial. Our question to you is, how do you recommend we gauge our customers' sentiments right now and over the next few months as things continue to change? Much like Peloton could very easily gauge their customers' reactions because it was very public, but how can we do that when we don't have such a public reaction?
Let me try to understand your question. So what you are talking about is that if your brand are not on social media, meaning that, or at least you cannot get the actual reaction on social media or on from public about how consumers are thinking about your brand, what you're going to do, right? Is that the
Correct.
question? Yeah. So you know that actually there are few cases that you have that situation, but you know that nowadays most brands are on social media. So if you are using the social media analytic tools like Infogy, you can easily get the information about how customers respond to your brand during the certain time by entering the keyword that have your brand name, and also select the, say, social media channels, and also the period of time that you want to get information to get that information and how many consumers talk about you. Generally, you can get information about that easily. So you can easily get the information about what consumers are thinking about your business. However, for some brands, if you don't have that information, especially smaller brands, the brands that probably are very new to the consumers, or the brands that don't have the access to the technology, some way you can do that is that observe your sales, observe your business first, right? If I can just get the information first, and I want to see, okay, during the COVID-19, how is my brand's performing? Whether I get the declining sales or I get the increasing sales. So I can get that first. And then I try to use the direct interaction with the customers in the way that if they order, they call us to order, or they just drive through to get the food. I want to see how they respond, and I want to see whether consumers coming back or not. And of course, I feel that probably you can also try to get some information from, say, frontline employees, to see how the frontline employees observe people reacting to the brand, whether they're coming back, whether they feel happy or not, whether they feel angry or not. So at least you can get some information from your inside information from sales. You can get information from your frontline employees. You can even call your customers if you can, or whenever they order something from your company, you can see how they react. But if you see that the sale is going down and you are having that problem and you couldn't get information from customers, I would say the best way is that to compare ours with what our competitors are doing, to see whether they are doing something better than us. Where is the problem? And maybe I can send the survey as well to the potential customers to get the information from them. So say getting some companies like Quadchick or Sentiment to send out the survey to the customers who are potential customers or existing customer of our business away. So you don't have to get the direct interaction with them, but you can still get some feedback from the customers. So I feel that that is the way that you can also do to get the user survey to your employees. In the ideal way is that you can also see consumer talking on social media.
Responded with their social media, specifically encouraging higher levels of virtual interaction. Many of us are in that position where we've had to pivot to using a virtual environment to deliver our product or service. How do you see this idea implemented in other industries such as financial services, healthcare, or even education?
That's really tough question, I would say, but that's also very interesting. Yeah, so you can see that they use the virtual to develop the product, and definitely you can see a lot of examples in the automobile industry. For example, Honda, they create the website so consumers can go there and they can choose different car model, and they can build the interior and exterior features and putting together different functions for the products. Definitely you can do that. And that later leads you to pick the price that you are willing to pay at the consumers. So for those tangible products, a little bit more easier for the company to really engage customer on using online technology, virtual technology to design the product. That one is more difficult for intangible products, like you are mentioned, for example, like healthcare product or insurance product. Definitely it's really difficult for those companies to really implement that virtual technology. So I would say something that the brands that are offering intangible services can do is that they probably can use the virtual to walk consumers through the process or the journey that the customer will go with that brand. So say if I'm the new customers and I'm a new customer of the banking or insurance company, so then the insurance or banking company can send me, say, an email, for example, and in that email that should have the link. So then that can walk me through the process. But it's not that I'm reading the information. I don't like to read the information that have different steps, right? I want to see myself in the process. So saying that like, I'm going to be document as the customer there. So maybe virtual image of the customer searching for information, more like the small video that walk me through the process. And then during the demo process, I can stop and I can enter information that based on my needs. So instead of having the from beginning to end videos, something that you can have some interactive features along the video that you allow the customer to stop and enter the information that they are looking for or enter the services that they are looking for. And then based on that, the video will automatically change to the situation that fits with the customer's needs. So I would love to have something like that before I buy, say, an insurance or I join in any bank account in any bank banking company. So I would think that can be the way that you show. And other than that, I would say that probably something that you can have a consumer do the trial if it is possible to do the trial, to do something. But I also agree that it's a little bit more difficult for the intangible company, the companies that offer intangible services to communicate with customer, but the journey customer going through and moving things online, that you can have someone who interact with customer on social media. That would be really cool. For example, like I was just want to say something about the virtual influencer that we are doing research related to. Have you ever heard about virtual influencer like Makela or Sudu? So those are not real people. So those are the computer generated characters online. But those people did a great job in interacting with other consumers and also influencing other consumers' behavior. So I would say that in case you cannot get the real people to do that for you, virtual influencer can use the virtual influencer as the people who give you some suggestions or some advice and walk you through like a friend to go over the process and give you some advice at the beginning, but along the way, those virtual influencers showing at the human-like character can be really nice.
Yeah, I need to pause just a second. Would you mind flipping your slide back to the resources page? We have several people asking for that.
Sure.
Thank you. And you're right, when you showed me the virtual influencers, they looked like real people.
Yeah.
So
I'm doing the research that we create the scale calling humanoid So we use the scale or the measure to measure different characteristics of that virtual influencer to see the level that influencer reflects a human being in terms of appearance, in terms of cognition, in terms of emotion, and even in terms of behavior. And so we want to see how that affects people decision making. Yeah. So definitely firms can do that as well.
Yeah, at MSU, when you sign up for health benefits here, there's an app that walks you through a similar process that you're talking about. And some of the responses from that virtual person are funny. And I found myself clicking just to see what that person was going to say. So it actually made setting up my healthcare enjoyable, which I can't remember the last time I enjoyed doing that. So
That's
there's
right.
definitely a real practical application and something that's reachable, I think, for mid and larger businesses.
One thing that I also feel that like maybe I didn't talk about that before, but I feel that like making you even that the virtual setting, but making is really human.
Yeah.
Create fun, humorous environment, doing something kind of surprising that will be really cool.
Yeah. So one of the viewers, Corey, has a question about that. He may have just been shocked to hear that I enjoyed signing up for my healthcare benefits. He works in insurance as well and says some businesses like insurance and B2B businesses do not have the opportunity to be as fun or connected like some of the other businesses in the examples we were looking at today. How would you recommend that they connect with their customers? Should they do things like sponsor events, offer classes? What would be beneficial for those brands?
Yeah, that's a great question. So definitely we are talking about consumers industry a lot so far, right? But how about the B2B business? Those are more difficult. So we always say that like when you create the B2C business, you create the brand, you create emotion, you base more on emotion to consumers because consumers still human being. How about the B2B business? Those are probably more difficult to reach just based on emotion, right? Um, that's definitely true as well for the business to the certain level. However, still you have the representatives from the B2B company that will connect with you. So during this difficult time, very difficult that you can go to their company, talk to them directly. Everything you have to do is to use your Zoom setting or meetings. So I would say organizing some events, something that you can engage your B2B customers in those events, and also sharing with them the update from your companies, thinking about the challenges that they are facing, and try to foresee that situation and offer them the advices or the help that would make them really happy. But I would say that try to, if you have the sales force that are managing different accounts from B2B business, better that you still have the regular meeting or regular connection with them, even during this difficult time, even you have to increase more that connection. And so try to be their friends. But then when you offer different solution, of course, still you base more on functions, on cognition. When you communicate different solution with your B2B customer, however, given the situation that we are facing these days, thinking about their emotion as well. So something that you can do for them to cheer them up, to create the new experience for them, something fun that they was not expecting, that would be really cool. So I just try to keep connection, close connection with them, try to organize some events that cheer them up and be their friends.
And a similar question related to state government. There's several state government employees here with us today. One of them, Pamela, asks, for suggestions from you regarding what they can do to engage customers and let them know that they care.
You are talking about the organization, the state government, right?
Correct. Yeah, the state of Michigan. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. You are so much important for us these days because you are the guider, you are the leader for us. So you can see that we are watching speech, news from the governor. We are waiting for some decisions from them. So I would say that try to use different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, even TikTok, um, Twitter to communicate with them on the regular basis. Try to give them the updated information as much as you can. Try to show your empathy. Try to show your caring, your emotion to them, because we are very much waiting for your information. We are very much waiting to see what you are doing to help Michigan's consumers, Michigan people, right? So I would say if you can you have a regular, say, post, but sometimes you can, every week you can have the regular interaction, regular meeting, of course, virtual meeting with people, giving us some information. That would be really nice. And I would say that if you can also create some like apps that really engage people using apps. Say apps can be news, can be activities, can be games, can be challenges. So you can reach different group of people in Michigan. So news can reach the older people who are caring about, so anything that update in the situation. And challenges can be for teenagers or college kids. Because I feel that like those are the ones who also care about the situation, but are not be reached effectively recently by the governors or the state governments. So those are very important people, because whether they decide to stay in Michigan or go to another state, really based on how they feel about the usefulness of the Michigan governments and whether you are caring or not about them. So I think that group also need to be reached effectively. Most of them are using Instagram, Snapchat. Like my daughter in her second year at U of Michigan, she's always using Snapchat. And so I feel that if for those people, you can have different challenges. I mean, it's more like the games to engage them. And then also they like more videos more than the other. So you can post information there. And so I think that is a second group you can do. And also for kids, if possible, you can reach them having like different storytelling, different apps that have a storytelling, different activities for them to engage them, to make them feel more happier, because they are staying at home all the time and they will miss their friend a lot. So I feel that if the Michigan government can do something like that, you can really reach people's heart. You create the love from people in Michigan, not only the older people, but also younger teenager kids here in Michigan. And we definitely love you and want to stay here longer. So that's what I think. You should have a different message to different group of people and offer something that make them feel interesting. Yeah, feel excited.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions we had from David that you answered as part of the state government answer. So thank you for that. So we have just a few minutes left, and I have 2, maybe 3 if we have time, questions that I want to share. And the last is on data. So now that you've gone through B2C, B2B, government, smaller, middle-sized businesses, let's go back to the beginning and say, if we are a small-sized business or a startup business right now, what are some steps they can take in addition to starting with those resources that you shared with them to really be successful on social media with the goal, of course, of building revenue for their business?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marcie. I think that the small and medium-sized enterprises are the one who are hit most by the pandemic because they probably have just started their business. They have a limited financial resources, and also they are competed by a lot of big names in the industry. So those are the one who need to the government need to help them the most. And then I think in terms of the strategy that you are asking about, I feel that they can use some inexpensive ways and tools to communicate with the customers. Like I mentioned in some example that during the presentation, you can see that they can definitely can use Instagram, they can use Facebook, Twitter, in different social media platform to communicate with customers, but try to think creatively when they create the message to the customer, meaning that you cannot just talking who you are, right? These days, consumers are more and more important, and they are very empowered because of the connection among customers. So I was in create the more like the small group of your target customer on social media, and you engage in that group at one of the players, feeding information to that discussion, finding different solutions for your target customer, organizing different way to engage them as the group, not only individual customer, but as the group. Definitely depending on different type of target groups that you need to adjust your community. Say if you are targeting the younger audience like millennials or Generation Z, the target channels can be Instagram, Snapchat, and then also the message that you communicate with them need to be very creative, very interesting. So try to get some MSU, MSU graduate who are very much like their age, so they can create different ways to reach those audience. So you not only give them information about you, but try to create that community with the connection among customers and give them some incentives to join that committee. So then by doing that way, it's cheap. You don't have to use the advertising because that is really costly. So then you can still engage your customer and keep them coming back every week. So say if every week you can give them some new information, some new incentive, some new messages, so they will come back every week. They have to search. And of course, if you are successfully help them to install the apps of your brand on social media, in which they not only order, but they can also connect with other customers, connect with you, and also getting some updates from your company. That would be the awesome situation. So I would say that in now and in the future, even that not in the situation of the pandemic situation, engaging customer at the group, at the brand community is really important. So I would suggest that you can make the most of the social media platforms and try to engage customer as the community and try to feed them some new information every week.
Yeah, and I will say those are all great recommendations. You had shared one of your graduate students with me that helped me market some of our programming on social, and it was top notch. So that's an excellent idea that we've utilized here in executive development programs. I had two questions. I'm going to move just to the last one. One of the two that I'm passing over was about more specifically what data is going to trigger an understanding of our response. So our efforts creating ROI. And you had mentioned early on some data analytics and a few places to go look for that. So I want to move into this, just this last question and partner that with a thought, to give you an opportunity to share final thoughts. The viewer Renee asks, how do you know which crises your organization should address? Obviously we're in the midst of dealing with COVID, with some hits to the economy, with some protests, and a dialogue about diversity, equity, and inclusion. How do you know which crises to address as an organization? And if I can ask you to just wrap up with your final thoughts, then we'll end up here in about 1 minute.
Oh, thank you, Marcie. I know that it's really difficult time. At least at this time, we are facing two crises. One is the COVID-19. It's more like health problem, and the other is more like Black Lives Matter. So that is more like racial issue, right? Racialism issue. So I think these are really two important, actually really difficult situation that two crises happen at the same time. So I feel that like, so your question is that how the firm decide which crisis to deal with first, right? Is that your question is about that? Okay. So I feel that like, actually you don't have to do it mutually. They are not mutually exclusive. So if you really care about customers, it means that you are helping them to overcome their difficulty during this pandemic. Regarding the races, like regarding whether they are black or white, you are working, you are moving toward to address the other crisis. That's the racism inequality already. So I would say that you don't have to choose which one is better. You just, what you do is that you think about customers, add your friends, add the one that you want to be with for such a long time. Then just treat them like your family members. Then it will help you to overcome the pandemic. It will help you to do better in the future. And definitely it will help you to show that you treat people equally and with love. So I think that's just the message. You don't have to choose which one to address first.
Thank you so much. You've left us wanting more, like you always do. So thank you very much for your generosity being here today, all the time it took to pull together the resources and the examples that are so current. We appreciate what you've done. And for those that are watching, we appreciate you joining us every week. We love your feedback and we use it. We hope that you see that we're doing that. We will see you in a week or so. Take care.
Thank you, Marcie. Thank you, everyone.